Okay, well, let's see here. Good afternoon, technically. Well, we're right at noon, aren't we? We're going to have our noon devotion. Hopefully, this finds you an encouragement as we've been looking, daily at the scriptures and been encouraged through the Psalms and taking a very, very simple approach to our devotional time. We could call it a meditation, a devotion. I've encouraged you as well at home if you are you want to go deeper in this to use this model where we're talking about this analyze, pick a best verse and make a commitment. The idea that you would try to take the text and summarize it in your own words, not what you think it says, but what does the text say? And then as we read through there, is the Lord prompting you? Is there one particular verse that the Lord is prompting you to write down? And then as you write that verse down, what is the application for you? Or what is the making a commitment from that verse? Today, I wanted to give you a little, update on some events that have happened around here that have sort of been interesting. I did put it in the notification, and I put on there, car crash and break-in. We've had both of those. Car crash and a break-in here at Calvary in the last week, and I wanted to give you a little update. Maybe you're on if you're on our on Facebook, we have a group, Calvary Chapel community group, and you can join that. And people are posting on there, and I posted some images yesterday of this car crash. So let's read though here. We'll find application there. I want you to, we'll make application with this. So Psalm 14, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. He says they're corrupt. They have committed abominable deeds. There is no one who does good. The Lord has looked down from heaven upon the sons of men to see if there are any who understand, who seek after God. Verse 3 says, they have all turned aside together. They have become corrupt. There is no one who does good, not even one. Do all the workers of wickedness not know, who eat up my people as they eat bread, and do not call upon the Lord? There they are in great dread, for God is with the righteous generation. You would be put to shame. You would put to shame the counsel of the afflicted, but the Lord is his refuge. Oh, that the salvation of Israel would come out of Zion. When the Lord restores his captive people, Jacob will rejoice and Israel will be glad. Verse 1, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. Let me tell you a little story here. Yesterday, about, what time was it? 7, maybe 7:30 or so. About that time, 7:30. A young man in a full-size pickup going about 60 miles an hour on Highway 9, headed south, came off the highway, went through between our shed, it's by the garage at the church, and the dumpster, blew out the gate that blocks the dumpster, went across our parking lot, jumped, just missed the light pole. Oh, by the way, as he came off the highway, missed the light pole on the highway, missed the tree that was there, missed the huge rock and the ditch, goes right between the shed and the dumpster, misses the light pole in our parking lot, shoots across the parking lot, misses the big tree, goes into the neighbor's yard, missing their house and the house that's right next to him, and lands in between these two homes. The young man wakes up. He's completely sober. Nothing. He fell asleep. He's totally fine. The family that was in the home, they had two little kids there. They were just playing outside about a half hour before this happened. They were upstairs, safe, away from that incident. Pastor Ben and Jeff Wilcox had just showed up about 2 minutes before the guy came through. Ben almost parked in front of the dumpster, but for whatever reason, just parked in the middle of our driveway. The parking lot just parked right in the middle. There wasn't any other cars there. He just parked right in the middle. He gets out of his car. Him and Jeff are talking right there. They step a little bit away to go into the foyer, and then the truck comes through. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. I told that young man, I drove up here right after Ben had called me. I told that young man, I said, don't you forget this. God and his angels were watching over you. I mean, if you got to go look at the pictures. So get on our Facebook community page and join that and look at these pictures. 6 inches that way, 8 inches that way. This kid is dead. 1 minute later, Ben parks in a different spot. The family's still out playing. They're hurt. I mean, this is God. Okay. Oh, one other part of this story. As he's traveling south and falls asleep and crosses over the northbound lanes, he just misses another truck, a couple that's in a truck heading north. They pull into the church after seeing him go through, and they tell Ben that they had been thinking that they should be going back to church sometime soon, and that this was a wake-up call for them to be going back to church. I don't know how else to tell this story without God's hand upon this whole thing. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. For someone to think that God doesn't exist or that God is not watching out, it's foolish. It's absolutely incredible. I mean, if you could see the scene, look at the pictures. I don't know. I'll try to post it. We actually have a little video. Jeff Wilcox has we have a little video. It doesn't get much detail, but it shows him creaming through the trees, by the dumpster. But the boy's totally fine. His mom came and got him. He was humble. He was apologetic. It was purely an accident, and the neighbors and we were all just so thankful that no one got hurt. You can replace fences and trees, but not people. So just be praying for the young man and that couple that almost got hit, and then they're making this connection that God is drawing them back to church. I mean, these are events that God can use in people's lives to draw them unto him. It's crazy. Okay, another one, a break-in. I don't know if you had heard this or not, but we had a break-in and a standoff Easter morning here at Calvary while we're about to start the live stream. I don't know if you heard that or not. I'm sorry if you didn't communicate that. We had a homeless guy come around. I think it was Saturday. We interacted with him, and he had set up camp behind the upper room. And anyways, we tried to give him some provision and try to meet some of his physical needs. But, he can't stay here on site. And we interacted with the cops, and the cops are aware of him and whatnot. Well, Sunday morning, when we're setting up for the live stream, getting ready here at the church and making sure it's all going, he comes strolling in, and we were busy setting him up. Okay, we'll talk to him after service, and we watch him go up, to the upper room, and he tries on the front door, and it's like, oh man, we got to call the cops, and and Pastor Andrew's on the phone with the cops, and no, it's not an emergency. We don't need to press charges. He can't stay here. And while he's on the phone with them, all of a sudden, a window in the upstairs of the upper room opens and he's up there. And then my phone's ringing because the security company's calling because there's a break-in. I'm like, no, great. No, we need the cops to come. There's an issue here. We've got a bigger issue than him just loitering around. And so the cops come. We had 6 Lake Stevens PD. They were wonderful. They did just awesome job. We had a state patrol, and then I think a canine from Everett came over, and there's a little bit of standoff. He doesn't want to come out. And he's held up in Ben's office eating the leftover Halloween candy. I think the insurance companies call that an attractive nuisance. So he's up there, doesn't want to come out. We're getting our thing going, got a live stream for Easter morning. This is a big deal. And then the cops call. They want a key because they want to get in the building and they don't want to break the window. And it makes sense, right? So somehow the guy had got in on the back door. He had jigged it open somehow. So Andrew runs them up the key. They get in. They storm the building with canine dog in the lead. They rush upstairs to Ben's office. He's sitting on Ben's brand new chair that he's got up there in his office. The dog lunges for the guy's crotch. The cop pulls him back just in time where the dog takes a bite out of Ben's chair. Well, anyways, then the fire department came and they checked him out and then they hauled him away. Now he's been back. He's not in jail, and that's another story. We got him on video last night. He was buck naked behind the upper room. My point is, if we had not been here on Sunday morning at the particular time, had not interacted with them, it may have gone a much, different way. But because of God's timing, God's providence, we were here and we were able to interact and make this connection. And it was good in that way. My point is, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. That's the foolish thing to say. There is no God. The wise thing to say is that there is a God, and it is the one true God, the one that we have said and we've looked at before, the God who is on the throne and is executing his sovereign will. Wow. If those aren't 2 stories for the books, I'm telling you, I don't know what else. I mean, we got a couple days left in this week. I don't know what else is going to happen. But the Lord is going to use this. And he will work in the hearts of the ones that, the neighbors and the car driving by and the young man that drove through and even the homeless guy that, is having to minister to through this, action of keeping him from vandalizing the facilities here. But be praying for him. And obviously he's got some things going on. There's, much like many of the issues that we see in society today, I asked the police department, is it a mental thing or is it a drug thing? And he's like, did the chicken come first or did the egg? And, sometimes these things play into one another, and most likely he has some mental instability. And so be praying for this guy that's coming here and that he could get the help that he needs and get him in a safe place. Okay, there's your prayer assignment, if you would, church. Be praying for that and let the Lord use that. Now, as far as our devotional, if you're going to check out, it's fine. Remember that there is a God. But I want to tune into something here because David writes here this thing that he says something. There is none. What does he say here? Verse 3. There is no one who does good, not even one. And we see this actually is quoted in Romans chapter 3, and I want to go there in a minute here. But notice here he says, verse 7, that salvation of Israel would come out of Zion. Zion is another term used for Jerusalem. Jerusalem was always historically in the Bible, Zion, a special place. And he's looking to Zion, that salvation for Israel would come there. And he says, when the Lord restores the captive people, Jacob will rejoice. Now, salvation did come out of Zion. Salvation came through Jesus Christ, who was crucified in Jerusalem and who rose from the grave there. And salvation did come to all. Now turn over to Romans chapter 3. I want you to see this that Paul quotes here. Thinking about this idea that the Lord has looked down from heaven and he's concerned with his people. He says, Romans 3:21, "But now apart from the law, the righteousness of God has been manifested, being witnessed by the law and the prophets, even the righteousness of God through faith in Jesus Christ for all of those who believe, for there is no distinction. For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." And so the reality is that all of us have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and that we are in this place that we need salvation. And he recognizes here that this thing of salvation comes through Jesus Christ. And he says, verse 24, being justified, this idea of being saved and standing before God, cleansed, clean, being justified as a gift by his grace, Romans 3:24, through the redemption which is in Christ Jesus, whom God displayed publicly as a propitiation in his blood through faith. This was to demonstrate his righteousness, because in the forbearance of God, he passed over the sins previously committed, for the demonstration, I say, of his righteousness at the present time, so that he would be just and the justifier of the one who has faith in Jesus. Where then is the boasting? In our text in Psalms, it's boasting of a foolish heart that says that there is no God. They've turned aside, they've become corrupt. Salvation is only through faith in Jesus Christ. I love this idea here that he says in Romans 3:25 that God displayed publicly a propitiation in his blood through faith. This was to demonstrate his righteousness, because of the forbearance of God, he passed over the sins. So this was a demonstration, the life of Jesus Christ, as we talked about on Sunday through our Easter message, that it's a demonstration of God's love through Jesus Christ. And Jesus Christ became this propitiation, this idea of, we made this connection of propitiation as the connection with the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant in the Holy of Holies, where the high priest would once a year sprinkle the blood of the perfect, spotless sacrifice for the removal or the covering up of the sins of the nation. And so we see here that Jesus is the once for all, and that Jesus becomes that propitiation and to take away our sins. And so there needs to be a healthy recognition that we are sinners in need of a Savior. And then when we recognize that, we look to Jesus Christ for that salvation. And when we do that, he says this honest thing here, where then is the boasting? We can't boast. If we can't save ourselves, if it's by no works of our own, then we have to fully trust in salvation through Jesus Christ. And this is the place to be, the place of humility, and to recognize that God is at work and that he is, I love this idea, that he would be just and the justifier for the one who has faith in Jesus. Back in our text here, Psalms 14. He says there's in verse 5, there's this great dread. And they do not, verse 4, do all the workers of wickedness not know, who eat up my people as they eat bread and do not call upon the Lord? It makes this connection of this idea of these people not recognizing that God is on the throne. But then when he manifests himself, when he reveals his self, he says they become this great dread. They have this fear. For God is with the righteous generation. He is with his people. And you would be put to shame. He says you would put to shame the counsel of the afflicted, but the Lord is his refuge. Again and again and again, man, we have seen this common thread that God is this place of refuge for the believer. It's a place of safety and a place of security. And then we, when David writes this in verse 7, he's looking for the Lord to come and to restore, the people, these people that are held captive. We have the knowledge of the saving grace and the new covenant that Jesus established, and we can be freed from captivity. What holds you captive? It's sin and it's shame. I mean, this idea of our sin and shame, it sort of puts you in this place of captivity where you can't move. But because of the work of Jesus Christ, it frees you from that sin and shame, and you can then move forward, drawing closer to the Lord, and we can rejoice, as it says here. Well, anyways, and we will look forward to the second coming of Jesus Christ, and there will be a full restoration. But as far as being restored from captivity, we are free from anything that the enemy would throw at us because of the work of Jesus. And we have to recognize that there is a God. It's so clear and so evident in just those two little silly stories I told at the beginning, or bring clarity of that there is a God. I mean, just amazingly so. Well, anyways, hopefully that was encouraging to you. Psalm 14, dig a little deeper on your own. Follow the cross references, make notes, and let the Lord speak to your heart in that, and take comfort that the Lord is for you and that he is not against you. And if the Lord is for you, who could be against you? And that, my friends, gives us great confidence and encouragement. God bless you guys. Again, if you want to see those pictures, if you in our Calvary Chapel community group, you can join in there and see those. I will try to post the video. I'll see if I can find that. There was a YouTube link that Jeff Wilcox had put up. Also, the car creaming into the parking lot. So you can check those out. All right, you guys. We'll see you later. God bless you, and have a great day. Enjoy that sunshine. Let's see if I can find that.